people, welcome back to the Mobility Project. Today we're working on laying out a couple ideas. First is that mobilizing is really a form of just fancy conjugate training. You know, the Russians knew along the lines of we need to keep the stimulus the same and yet constantly varied. Failure to adapt to training is to adapt to training. So what we want to do is keep hitting the same pieces from different angles. Keep tinkering, keep monkeying with your business. Second idea here is I want to introduce the concept of the sympathetic sweat. If you've ever had too much coffee and you get that little kind of caffeine sweats, or even the meat sweats. Too much meat, you go to bed at night, you wake up with the meat sweats. Same thing, a little bit of sympathetic sweat. And what's a good model that you're actually kind of hitting the right intensity is that you feel sort of nauseous, you may vomit, you start sweating. So if that's starting to happen to you, like it's starting to happen to me right now, you may be in for a treat. So take a look at this. What I've done is I've taken one of the 45-pound bars, and I'm working on this inside bit here. We call this the scrotchal region. We hate working on this piece because it's tender and doesn't feel very good. And literally, I'm just sitting in this cross-legged position, crisscross applesauce, as we say, and I'm going to roll the bar back and forth over my adductors, catch that VMO, which obviously is not firing, and it's pretty nasty here. So if you just roll the bar back and forth, you have a pretty heavy, nasty way to be able to get into some of your bits. Imagine this on your quads, imagine this other places, but this is a really potent way. I've got the one end anchored and the other side's back and forth. This came from an athlete who was saying how he figured out how he could hook his knee under the couch, and he put a sandbag on the other knee, and he'd get into the kind of splits, or what's groin position, and he'd lay back. So look what we've done. I've just taken 2 bars here, laid down on my knees. Whoa, that's it. Oh, God. That is the worst pain ever. And when I say sympathetic sweats, this is what I'm talking about. I can't even relax into this all the way, but I want you to toy. If you're not responsible for the tearing groin feelings, I'm going to pull my hat down because I don't like the feelings that's happening. You'll notice that you're going to want to be dropping into extension. You've got to keep the belly on to keep this from happening. But this is just 45 pounds, and do this in the privacy of your own public gym. They're going to love you at 24 Hour Fitness when you poo yourself. So anyway, just give you some ideas, a couple things we're toying with. That inside part of your groin gets pretty nasty. But since we're working on kind of the inside part of the groin, we might as well kind of continue this around. And I'll tell you, one of the areas that gets really bad is this, what we call proximal hamstring, this insertion. You know, your adductors are inserting right up into kind of this part of the pelvis. You've got all your hamstrings. There's a lot of meat here and a big nerve bundle that goes through here. I'm going to show you something you can do. If you take a bar, or you can grab a fancier way, you might even be able to do this on the edge of a hot tub. I'm just going to put this in the rack here and then be able to get really some of this high hamstring stuff. And I'm going to just kind of see if I can't pin it back and forth. So I need some acute pressure here, and I'm going to roll back and forth. And when I start to hit this stuff, you're going to know it because it doesn't feel very good, and you almost feel like there's a kind of intense swelling in the groin area. That's the blood going. No, I'm just kidding. That's the right feeling. So you know, in this position, I'm just rolling back and forth. I can find some of that really that deep insertion. You may not be able to capture that by sitting on the cross ball. It's certainly worth it, but take your lacrosse ball, even at work or on a hard surface, and plant it deep up into the groin here. And what we're really looking at is almost capturing the inside of your grundle. Right here, this, not just the hamstring, but kind of starting to get into the adductors as it comes into that area. And if you can get tall on some of that stuff, you're going to see that it's pretty ropey, and it's not hamstring. It's frankly, it's a grundle. Every man dies, not every man really uses his grundle. You know what I'm saying? So toy with that. If you can get on the ball or get on a bar, I want you to be creative, but really not thinking about hamstring, but more of this adductor mass. You may even just, be able to kind of sit on the parallel bars and one leg and just rock back and forth over that. That high hamstring insertion, it gets pretty ropey. And one of the things that happens is because we're constantly loading this part of our bodies first, this ends up getting a little bit shortened. You know, we want to load hamstrings and butt and the big range things first, so you can imagine that being tight here makes a difference. So let's toy with that. We've got a groin. We're trying to roll out on the inside. Last piece, just carry that idea around, is to go ahead and get on the butt. And let's hammer that thing. Get into those corners. And I also want you to go ahead and play with that figure four. So this figure four is really flexion, external rotation, which is really what my squatting is. And if you find a spot that's really tight, see if you can contract and then release into it. You can contract, relax on the ball. If that feels like it's too intense, or you feel like you're on something that's hot and nervy, it's probably because you're on a hot, nervy spot of your body called a nerve. So be cool. Use your brain about this stuff, but really camp out. This is part of that sliding surface business. And most of us are sitting on our ass all day long. We're basically pancaking those fibers, creating an ass laminate, if you will. What we want to do is restore that motion, all right? So get away from the ass laminate. Let's get those fibers sliding. And sorry about the scrotchal markings. We will see you guys tomorrow.